Thank you very much, and thank you for all the audience having me here today on the platform. Yes, DOI is having a congress, as it is a requirement by the IEC that all political parties should conduct what we call congress before on the 15th of March. That is the deadline given to the IEC. We feel it necessary that we will definitely oblige with the demand of the IEC to conduct what we call our congress on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of March, inshallah, at Penchame Hall, Kairaba.
So what are we looking forward to in this Congress?
Yeah, actually, for this year's Congress, the message is we are coming with a system change that required a transformative agenda that will shape the future of this country. That is the slogan that we are coming on, because we feel like you cannot change a country unless you change the regime, because we all know that when Jammeh was here, we all agreed that single political party could not remove Jammeh here, and we decided to come in hand, come with all the modalities in place to make sure that we achieve what has never been achieved in this country for 54 or 56 years. This country has never changed through the ballot box. For the first time in the history of the Gambia, we were a part of the political parties that will champion the cause for the Gambia to change for the first time in the history by achieving what we call a regime change. And we said the next step should be a system change, because if we didn't change the system, then we will just be inheriting government upon government. They will come, but they will still work on the same system.
Be the same thing.
Yeah, the same thing, and what we have been complaining for 54 years. So you must change that system that has kept us, in poverty for 54 years. The system that has keep us, our mineral resources have been given to the outsiders. So we say we must change that system by changing all the laws that were required to be changed, all the reforms that were necessary to be changed, to the service that have been rendered to the states, and make sure that our public institutions serve the interests of the citizens by paying dividend to government and also creating employment. This is why Pdois came with what we call an agenda of a system change, and we say that we have an agenda, what will be our manifesto, to say the transformative agenda. And this transformative agenda consists of how the economic of this country, from all the sectors of life, from agriculture, education, health facility, youth employment, the educational structure of this country, the social service, all the services that are necessary will entail detail to say that these are the problems of our country since 54 years. And this is the solution of DOI. And we believe by implementing that, we will change the government that we, all of us, can be proud of and say, this is our homeland. And this is what we have. And on the 7th, we will launch this, and everybody will have a copy to read and understand the context, and you can compare it to the reality of the country. Then you will realize that definitely DOI has a solution to the problems of this country.
So every time that the name DOI comes up, a lot of people will tell you, yeah, it's a great political party and they have a lot of ideas. But at the same time, every time the name of this political party comes up, it's always critics out there saying that you don't even count when we talk about issues. Can you just stay away with your whatever percentage that they like to attach to the political party? What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, for us, the Gambian people, for us in Gambia here, how we see the growing of a political party or the impact of a political party, is that the amount of seats that the person wins in an election, or the amounts of whether the person becomes a president in this country. But one has to understand, DOI mode of politics is different from any political party in this country. We didn't just come to politics just to amass the votes of the Gambian people. We feel like, before you rule the people, you must educate them to understand what belongs to them. So we start from the process by building awareness, for citizens to know what belongs to them and what is the responsibility of the state, so that if that person goes to office, you can hold him accountable by knowing your right as a citizen. So it was more of an education, and we educate the people until 1994 when the coup d'etat came. And people would say that if after 1994, if we go 1996 election, the vast majority of the Gambian people were all aspiring for DOI because they have understand the message and they were ready. And others even were saying that the coup d'etat was meant for DOI, because they believe that with the numbers that DOI was growing in numbers, we could have taken this country. But the coup d'etat came and derailed the entire process. And for DOI, we have seen that the person who came into power wanted to entrench himself. And we said that we can. So we were more concentrated on how to remove that person in office. And we went up to an extent that we understand that a single political party could not remove this person in office. For 15 good years, Doi was the only political party in this country that was not talking on their platform as Doi has a political party, but rather they were talking on a coalition agenda so that they can remove Yaya Jammeh from office. And this, I can give you example from United Front or NAT, from NATO Coalition 2016. Doi was not talking on their own platform as a political party. They sacrificed Doi to liberate the country, to remove Jammeh from power. No single party. So we were not more concentrated on just to, amass the wealth of the people or induce the people to vote for us. We could have done that. We could have taken minister's position from Jammeh and collect all the monies that are necessary, that are given to ministers per diem, and build our party. And we could be in the force. We can do anything. We can buy pickups. But we were not interested in that. What we were interested is to remove the country where it was heading, because we have studied and we know that the trend the country was going. If we didn't come together, we will not have removed Jammeh here. And as we are going in percentage, you could see that Jammeh was increasing from this percentage to another percentage. So there will be a time we will end up having absolute majority. So we say that we have a tactic, and thank God Coalition 2016, our tactics worked. We were able to remove Jammeh here. So this is what the Gambian people were not interrogating, to look at the way Doi was followed, but for them they are looking at the numbers. And for us, we are not much more interested in the numbers, but we are interested in what type of Gambia are we going to build. And we went up to the extent that we know that somebody was here and we could not remove him until we come together. So we sacrificed the party. So we were not much concentrated on Doi as a political party, but we are interested in removing an incumbency who has been trying to entrench himself to the Gambian people.
So it was evident that a coalition was the only solution, and of course Doi was open to the idea. Down from 2016 to now, a lot of people are also saying that for President Barrow to leave the State House, it might require another coalition of all these political parties. What's Doi's opinion on that?
Well, for us, we don't believe in that. People just have their opinion, and everybody is entitled to their opinion, and we will definitely respect that. But for us, I think that the Gambian people are aware that now, after Coalition 2016, that our voters card counts and it can remove a government. If our voters card could remove Yaya Jammeh here, who has all the abundant mineral resources, that he have all the monies, because I have not seen any presidential candidate in this country that has money more than Yaya Jammeh in terms of even the security apparatus that he have, the mode of security apparatus. If our voters card could have removed Jammeh here, I say that we can remove anybody here who is...
But that was a coalition.
Yeah, that was...
So to remove Barrow, what all these analysts are saying is that it might require another coalition.
Then that means that the Gambian people didn't, we didn't learn from the coalition 2016 to understand that we must put somebody into office who will serve our interests. So for us, it's about people listening to all the political parties, their programs and policies, and look at the interests of this country. For 54 years, this country has not been voting based on policies and programs. We are voting votes on an individual because of my grandfather who belongs to this political party. This party was my tribe. This is my uncle's tribe, or this is the party that my family has been. We have never voted. This is why for 54 years we have been complaining, from Jawara to Jammeh to Barrow. Any party we put there will become, because we are not voting based on the competence and the policies and the program. We are voting based on an individual, that this man is a leader and my father was supporting this political party, or he's from my tribe, then I will definitely support it. And Gambian people must change that mindset, that we listen to all political parties and understand that who will serve our interests, and give our voters card to the person for the interest of all of us. Because political parties are just instruments of leadership. But the moment the person is elected as the president, he becomes the president of the Republic of the Gambia, not the president of the Republic of Pdois or the president of the Republic of UDP, but he becomes the president of the Republic of the Gambia. So political parties are just ladder to reach to that stage. So when we are voting, we should vote based on competence, that this person who will serve the interests of our country. And I think if we do that, we don't need even a coalition to remove Barrow if we feel that he's not serving our interests. All what we do is to listen to political parties, look at their programs, interrogate them, and vote based on competence, not based on this is the person I know or this is the party that I support. If we remove that, there will be no person who will come into power and entrench him or herself on us.
Just before I go to our coach there, one thing I want to ask, so now that you are going for a Congress, who are the people that are standing for the, the party leadership? Is there anyone going against Halifa?
Yeah, it is open, and I think people nomination forms has been dispatched, and whoever is interested in any position will definitely apply, and the delegates will decide whether they want that person or not. And I'm not quite sure because I don't know whether Khalifa will even run for the president for the flag bearer yet because he didn't talk to me. But I know that the nomination forms are open. Whoever is interested in any position, you can just go and apply or show your interest by writing to the central committee that you want this position. And our constitution said that 2 weeks before the Congress, everybody should submit whatever you are interested. If any position that you are interested, you can submit your interest by the central committee, and it will be announced during the Congress. And whoever nominates you, then we go in. If you have somebody who against, like if you say that Kexx, I want to be the youth secretary of Pdois, and somebody to feel interested, then we go in for election. If there's no second candidate who is interested, then automatically will be elected as the youth secretary. So these are the procedures, and it will be democratic, open to all medias to see the democratic process.
Thank you very much, Kexx. I'll now go to Coach. Coach, are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
Joining us once again. Now straight to the draft constitution. It seems we cannot do away with this topic, and Gambians are actually outraged today that leaders of political parties are headed to Nigeria for what they call constitution talks. What's your reaction to this?
Well, I share that frustration and anger. I believe that it is really a very mediocre by our people, in that I believe they are playing Barrows. The Gambia, I am one of those who believe that we have people that are competent enough, intellectually and otherwise, to be able to handle issues, especially when it comes to constitution building. Constitution building, writing a constitution is not the same as having like an economic in a country, because that is temporal. But you are writing a constitution that is supposed to stand the test of time, a constitution that is supposed to guide a country for decades. In September, President Barrow and his supporters rejected the draft constitution that President Barrow, sent to the National Assembly. We know that he created CRC. They went to the parliament. The act was approved. They appointed the members. They taught the whole country. Came with a draft. But just because the draft did not meet the desires of President Barrow, he deliberately sabotaged it. And when that happened, the hopes of the Gambia, because you see, we could all have our disagreements about the draft, but at least what we wanted was for it to be given a chance so that it would go through all the stages in the cabinet. Okay, if Barrow had a problem, I wanted to serve for 50 years. Give it a chance, let it go through the process, let it go to the second reading. Go to the committee, come with your suggestions. If they are rejected, you can come back and say, you know what, we came, we wanted this, but they didn't want it, but you rejected, and now you're telling us that we have to go to Nigeria to have a discussion with Jonathan so that we can have a draft constitution. When we all remember that very day that they were debating the draft in the National Assembly, there was a joint communique. I think it was from the US, from the EU, the German embassy, and British High Commission. Barrow refused to meet them when they went to meet him because he said he didn't want them to interfere with him. If they wanted to meet, let them go and meet the foreign minister. His supporters stood in the national and said that they did not need any foreign interference in deciding or writing our constitution, and went as far as it was suggesting that no money used in that process of writing a constitution came from outside. It was locally financed because we did not want any interference. He sent his minister, who was one of the most lackluster, unspirited defense of the bill. So you rejected. Now you, same person that said he did not want foreigners to interfere into how we deal with our constitution, has the audacity to invite Jonathan, come and mediate, And some of our leaders bought that and got on a plane and flew to Nigeria. It is a joke.
You know what, Coach? I've heard people mediate when it comes to peace, but for constitution, is that a thing?
In fact, it was the first time that Gambians ever traveled anywhere for constitution, writing of a constitution, to negotiate on a constitution, was when they had the first constitutional conference, 1961, when we were trying to negotiate for our colony, for our independence. So maybe it was necessary to travel there, and we want ours that represent us on all this. But this is us. We've been independent for 56 years. And what crisis? I don't see crisis. You know what this is like? You steal somebody's and then call somebody and say, you know what, I want you to come and mediate my crisis between me and that person. There was no crisis created. The constitutions were rejected by Barrow. He rejected it. So, and the funny thing, dishonesty in this whole process. On October 4th, 2020, we, for the people by the people, had the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General, and he said that he was going to try to revive the draft. But what he wanted to do was constitute a committee of independent Gambians to mediate. But now what we have here, which is an organization in Nigeria, together with Jonathan, a Nigerian, to come and tell Gambians, you know what, you don't know how to do anything, we will help you. I don't need Jonathan, I don't care who he is, to give me guidance on how we, the Gambians, should be able to agree to disagree on a constitution.
And in all of this, I will turn to Kexx. In all of this, because I've seen you go back and forth with supporters of other political parties, they're saying that the only political party that is disgruntled about this whole political leaders going to Nigeria is Pdois, simply because Khalifa has decided to remove himself from this entire constitution talk. What is your response to that?
Yeah, because for Pdois, we didn't participate in things that, it's not based on law or there is procedure. And the funniest thing about this whole issue, and it's a shame that even our Minister of Justice is saying that they are discussing about the draft constitution, which never existed. The draft constitution is never existed as we are speaking right now. There is no draft constitution. It's either they build a new constitution, but anybody who said we are discussing the draft constitution doesn't know the laws of this country, doesn't understand anything. When a bill is rejected in parliament, that bill doesn't exist anymore. And it is rejected in parliament, that means that it is thrown out and the CRRC term of office has expired. That means that there is no draft constitution. Anything that they are doing is either to build a new constitution and come with it a parliament, and that's what the law said. Anything rejected in the parliament cannot come back to the parliament until it is totally different from that what was rejected. So if our politicians are gathering at Abuja telling their supporters that we are discussing about the draft constitution, it is a shame that our leaders doesn't even understand the laws of this country, and they are saying they are discussing the draft constitution. And this is what they understand that, and this is why we are not even part of it. Because there is no draft constitution that existed. Whatever they will discuss there, if they are coming to parliament, they will come with a new constitution. That's what the law stated. So there's nothing like a draft constitution. And if they do anything, they are plagiarizing the work of the CRRC, which is very unfair to the commission, because they have tasked them a job to do. So anything that they will do, they will just change few words there, and they bring in and they said, I bring a new constitution, when that was actually drafted by the CRRC, not them, the executive. That is injustice to the CRRC. For 2 years, they have used their time, they have used their resources to build this constitution. It is rejected by the parliament. You go again and you said you are inviting Goodluck Jonathan just to change 2 letters or 4 letters and said we have built a new constitution. That is very injustice to the CRRC. And if they do that, they are doing injustice to the chairman and his team for the labor they have invested in this draft constitution. And what the politicians are discussing, let them say that they are discussing the new constitution, but they are not discussing the draft constitution, because that one is no more existed as our law stated. There is nothing like a draft constitution. So this is why we are not going to be taking part of it, because people understand that there is no crisis that need the intervention of any foreign power. There are two provisions that we could utilize and bring this draft constitution alive to the National Assembly. One is through the National Assembly or through the executive.
Yes, which is why some people are basing their arguments on that. They're saying it's only two ways that we can go about it. Yeah. Either we go the executive way or we go the parliament way. Yeah. And they are considering this the executive way. So what do you think?
This executive, the one they are trying is only going to be a new constitution. It's not going to be a draft constitution that was rejected by the parliament. So if they are talking, let them say that we are discussing with Goodluck Jonathan to build a new constitution for the Gambia. Not the draft constitution, because that one, according to the law, doesn't exist as we speak right now. For the one through the parliament, those one they can rescind their earlier decision and bring the draft constitution back to the parliament. That one they are speaking in the language of the draft constitution that was drafted by our CRRC, Constitutional Review Commission. But the executive way that they are discussing there will only come with a new constitution, not the draft constitution. So these two things are totally different. Whoever is telling you that the executive way is to bring back the draft constitution doesn't understand the procedures of our country. Anything that they will bring must be a new constitution, not the draft constitution that was rejected. But the way of the parliament, they can still rescind their earlier decision by coming with a motion, and it will be accepted by the speaker, and they will rescind their earlier decision, and they will continue from where they stop. But this one, what the executive are doing, is must be gazetted in it must be gazetted for 3 months, 10 days to announce that their intention is to come with a new constitution and then introduce into the parliament. And it starts first from the first reading, introduction, first reading, second reading, committee stage, it go to the process. That means that it is a new one. If it is a draft constitution, they should start from where they stop. But because it is not that the law said it's rejected, it's no more a draft constitution. That means it's a fresh one. So they have to start fresh. So what the executive are doing, they are not dealing with the draft constitution, but they are trying to build a new constitution. And I'm 100% sure that they are not going to draft anything different from what the CRRC has drafted. And if they do that and bring it to the parliament, they have not done justice to the CRRC for the law work that they have done for the Gambian people.
Thank you, Kexx. Coach, just one thing. Gambians are outraged that our political leaders will form their little delegation to go to Nigeria to meet Goodluck Jonathan. But it seems people are more angered that we have Sidinjai on the table. What do you think?
You see, first, I just want to add to what Kexx said. Based on the timeline, even if they had an in Nigeria and bring something new, there is no way that you have a new constitution before the 2021 presidential elections. And that would put you in the same conundrum that you are in now. How are you going to implement the term limit? Because if Barrow does not want a retroactive application of the term limit in his current term, if he to be elected or anybody elected on the 1997 constitution, you would have the same problem, because the person can also tell you that it does not affect my first term because I was not elected on that constitution. But coming back to the president, people think that we are picking on him. It's not. Everything that the coalition Sidinjai stood against. Sidinjai was not interested in the building of a new constitution. Sidinjai was never interested in abused Jammeh's abuses. This is the same Sidinjai who, in fact, fought tooth and nail to try to nullify Barrow's election as president of the Republic of the Gambia. Because when Jammeh made that pronouncement on the 9th of December 2016, that he had rejected, that he was going to nullify the elections, was going to dissolve the IEC, appoint a new IEC. Sidinjai became who? He became the face of that defiance. He became Jammeh's Minister of Information, was the spokesperson of Jammeh. There are clips all over the place about Jammeh was not going to go anywhere. They were not going to accept the results. And by his action, over 45,000 Gambians time in our history packed their things to run across the border as refugees. And in that process, some people lost their lives. So Barrow's election, the reason why we had a coalition was because of the abuse of the Gambian people. So the coalition that elected Barrow built on the sweat, the tears, the blood of ordinary Gambians, the blood, tears, and sweat that came as a result of people like Sidi Njayi's arrogance in support of Jammeh. So to now have that same Sidi Njai to sit now and represent Adama Barrow at talks to write a new constitution is an insult to the victims and a mockery to what we fought for and against, leading us to the election of Adama Barrow. So this is why people are outraged. It is an insult.
You know, part of the argument, people are also taking this back to the whole issue of Gambia and its sovereignty. They're saying that if Gambians can complain about having ECOWAS forces in this country, but yet still can pack our stuffs and go to Nigeria for constitutional talks, I mean, are we comparing apples to oranges, Coach, or do you feel the same way?
You are not comparing apples. It's the hypocrisy of the situation. You have a problem with a short-term agreement of foreign forces that came to stabilize a nation because somebody wanted to plunge our country into bloodbath. You said, now we are ready, as sovereign people, to be able to take care of our own security. Said, okay. But then you have no problem running around and going to a foreign country to have somebody from the country to guide you into coming up with a document that is not supposed to be short-term, but lifelong. So this is the hypocrisy. So it's not about Barrow, but all those, and I think have done in that trip, who had a problem with the renewal of the economic mandate in the Gambia. So you see the problem that we have, Sajo, is that we are not a very strategic people. For the most part, we think about the now and not the future. And this is why, for the most part, we make some very, because we always tend to forget what had happened and are just focused on what is just happening now. And we are caught up by what we said yesterday, and what we are trying to do for now may not be even beneficial for the future. We have to be a lot more strategic, and leaders are supposed to make very hard decisions. Because if you look at this whole thing, the UDP's position is very clear, from what I understand, that they are not going to allow a single comma to be changed from the draft. So if you're not going to allow that, why engage in this fruitless conversation? If I were the UDP, I would have done what I did when they had that conversation about increasing Barrow's term or whatever. When they went to the first meeting and saw that it wasn't going anywhere, they said, you know what, you guys do your thing, we're going to do our thing. And so to me, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know what it is, but we have to do better.
All these political leaders that left for this trip are coming to their defense. They're saying that, first of all, this trip is not paid for by the government of the Gambia. Does it matter in this case?
Well, you know what? In fact, that fallacy. It is not true. There are two things that most everybody else. The secrecy that surrounds this trip in itself. We are yet to see an official document from the government telling us the number of delegates that are going to this. It is the journalists that are trying to pick who is there and who is not there and all these things. So we know nothing pretty much about this trip. I had the minister's interview yesterday on GRTS. He pretty much said nothing to that. The Minister of Justice, apparently, the Minister of Tourism there, who are paying for their per diems. And while they are away, what's happening to the job that they were supposed to be doing in observance of the positions that they hold? So this cannot be a private affair. It doesn't matter where the money or the bulk of the money is coming there. In fact, that is a lie. I want to challenge anybody prove that this effort, that the Gambia government did not put money into this? I want to challenge anybody, because this whole thing is shrouded in secrecy. There is no transparent process. So to jump and defend it, what government is not paying for it, that is the list of the concerns of who is paying for it. The whole process itself undermines the territorial integrity and sovereignty of our people. That should be of concern. You see, at some point, we have to be able to accept when our so-called leaders make mistakes. But we have this thing in the Gambia, this herd mentality. If I am part to network, there is nothing you can say about part to network. I'll fight with you. If I am Doi, there is nothing you can say about Doi. I'll fight with you. But that doesn't help you. That doesn't help your process. This process it undermines our sovereignty. And the reason that most Gambians are outraged should be of concern to any political leader or political party. Let's not kill us with who is paying for it. At the end of the day, it's going to cost us something. I know at least Ahmad Badi did not walk from his house to the airport. He was driven by somebody on government's time, government's petrol. So that doesn't account for it. Maybe it may not mean anything to these supporters. But we have our ambulances that are packed because they do not have oil or gas. So we are such a poor country that we do not have any resources to waste, and we should not be encouraging it by giving flimsy excuses of who is paying for it and who is not.
Actually, I just want to comment on regarding people who are comparing this with the economic forces, saying that if economic is here, the foreign powers, giving us protection, why will we deny people to go outside our sister country and look for, and people fail to understand these are two different things. And Gambia is part of the economic. We are contributing every year, National Assembly, they approve budget that in our international community. We are part of ECOWAS. If this happens to Senegal, Gambian armed forces will move here and go and do peacekeeping in Senegal. So it's not about foreign powers, protecting the Gambia. Gambia is part of even ECOWAS. So we are member states in ECOWAS. So this is not about somebody. We are a member. It's just like an institution. You have a problem, the institution just get up and support you during your difficult time. This is different from a constitutional building. The constitutional building, at the start, you can guide us in terms of finance and other things, but when it comes to the proclamation of the constitution, there's no foreign interference anywhere in the world. That is strictly the work of the National Assembly or the executive and the commission. Nobody should help us how to make that draft constitution a bill. There should be no foreign intervention in that negotiation. And I don't think that the Gambia lack the capacity. If we can have Chorna, Dr. Chorna, the head of the CRRC, who have taken part in constitutional drafting in other countries, why could we not invite the National Assembly members that have disagreed with the entire process before inviting Goodluck Jonathan? Bring them and join them with the CRRC to explain every clause to the members who disagree, so that maybe they didn't have the better understanding, because constitution is just not a mere document. It is difficult for even people who are legally minded to understand the content of the document, because the language is so legalistic to the extent that people don't understand. But maybe if you explain to them in simple terms, they might understand and they might change their position. Or if the government has the intention, as they are claiming, that they want this draft constitution to pass so that it can usher in the Third Republic of the Gambia, because we are still in the Second Republic until we have a new constitution, then we will usher in a Third Republic. And this has been the aspiration of every Gambian coalition 2016, that we want to usher in a Third Republic. And this will be a legacy for any president who is overshadowing the transitional period, who is the president during the transition, and it will be a good legacy for Adama Barrow. And I think his advisors should advise him that this is for his own good, that he is the president that ushered in the Third Republic, and he is the president that ushered in a constitution that is drafted by the Gambian people. The 1965 constitution was inherited from the colonial masters. The 1997 constitution, there was no parliament. It was just drafted and taken to the people for referendum. They didn't understand the content. They just vote yes and they accept the content. This one was built by Gambians, both home and abroad. Everybody has an input in this draft constitution, either direct or indirectly. We all contribute. For the first time in the history of the Gambia, we draft a document that will govern us for entirety. for the rest of this country, because we want this document to be a working document that will be the last constitution of the Gambia. We might amend it as we go on because it will never be a perfect constitution. So I don't know if they have the will. I'm advising Barrow, let him just talk to the members that have rejected the draft constitution. They don't need good luck, Jonathan. Let them accept and rescind their decision, and can use even that members to come with a motion to the parliament to rescind their earlier decision and accept the draft constitution to go to the committee stage. Even at the committee stage, the assembly has the power to amend and delete. They can go if they feel like that. For the interest of this country, this is the only clause that we disagree on. And they think that they can modify it or even change the language if it is too rigid. They can do that because they have the power to delete, they have the power to amend, they have the power to change anything. But at least for the first time in the history of the Gambia, at least we draft our own constitution. We also in the Third Republic. But if Barrow has to leave office without the Third Republic, that is failed. That is not the objective of the change. The change was to usher in a draft constitution, a new constitution, to have institutional reform, constitutional reform, electoral reforms, and all these things. We have not achieved it. We are going in for the election with the same laws that all these opposition political party fought for when they were in the opposition. That the electoral laws were bad. We have to change. We have to change. We have the solo standing protest. We have the Karawal revolution protest, and so many Gambians have protested against that electoral reform. And still now we have those electoral reform, and the law is very clear. 6 months before the election, you cannot change any law that has to deal with election. And we are, let's count the date. We are in February, and election is 2021 in December 4th. So just minus November, 2 months from 12 months. You are left with only 10 months, and the law is sent 6 months before the election. And before you will change your law, you must gazette it for 10 months, 3 days, 3 months, 10 days. Minus that from there, the drafting process and everything. We didn't have any legal constitution so far, the 1997, apart from the age limit. The upper age limit, that is the section 65 age, that if you are 65 you cannot be the president of it. That is the only clause, and the National Assembly members to protect themselves by removing, when you move from your political party, you will not lose your seat as a national. These are the only clauses that we have changed. But we have sedition laws in this constitution. We even have a law there that says that if you say any foul language against the president, you have committed a crime. That
we still have the draconian laws.
Draconian laws are all in this country with so many bad laws, and we were the opposition against in these laws. Then that means that we were just complaining because it doesn't favor us, but now it favors us. That's why we are comfortable to keep the 1997 constitution. It will be very injustice to the people that vote on these people. And I'm saying that let us all encourage, let us go back to the National Assembly. We can pass the draft constitution without involving anybody, and it will be our document. But if not, this is a shame to the sovereignty of our country.
Coach, what do you have to say before I let you go?
Well, to just thank you for having me and to encourage Gambians to continue to speak out on issues that are pertinent. The country belongs to all of us. And I hope that we'll open our eyes to make sure that next time the leaders that we elect are leaders that are honest enough to stick to their words. Because this whole thing, whether we want to say it outly or not, is as a result of personal greed. Because this was supposed to be a transition government for under 3 years. One was not supposed to succeed oneself. But we are here by the sheer desire to have more than 3 years, but to succeed oneself. Gambia is now put in a conundrum just because one person could not get it his way. With that, I thank you very much, and let's keep on keeping on.
What do you have to say before we close the show?
Thank you very much, and I'm calling all Gambians, that needs real change for the Gambia that we want. Those holding their Congress on the 5th, 6th, and 7th. Come and listen to our program. We are not forcing you to join the party, but just come and listen to the program. And I'm sure if you listen to the transformation agenda, you will definitely know that this is the solution for the Gambia. For 54 years, this country has been so. 56 years, we have been suffering, and I think it is time for the Gambian people, to take the ownership of the country. We go to the direction that we intend. If we fail to do that, we have failed our ancestors that fought for the independence of this country. And for me, Doi is the solution. Let's all come to the Congress and join Doi for a system change.
Thank you very much, Kexx Sanneh, and thank you very much, Coach Pasamba Jow. That will be it for News Review today. Join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good evening.